Hello everybody, welcome back to Reading for Vocabulary. I'm Brian Stewart. We're continuing on our subject, our unit, Caring for Animals. Our lesson 8 is Living with Animals. Do you live with an animal? Do you have a pet? Probably if you have a pet, you're living with an animal. So we're going to focus on how humans live with animals. How do humans live with animals? But we'll not just look at pets. In the reading passage, they'll also mention some other ways that human beings have lived with animals a long time ago and through history, but just briefly. But first, of course, before we do any reading, we should study some vocabulary first. Are you ready? Let's begin with our first word. Whoa, these guys look really cool, don't they? Right? Something we watch or do for fun. Something that we watch or that we do for fun. What could that be? Well, we're looking for entertainment. What a long word. Entertainment. So, entertainment. Entertainment. 4 syllables. Entertainment. Long word, right? Entertainment is something we watch. So if you watch a TV show, it could be a drama. It could be a music show. It could be a documentary, something about history. But it's entertaining. That's entertainment. Something we do for fun. We play a video game. We go play soccer. That's also a form of entertainment. Okay? So entertainment has many different forms, or there's many types of entertainment. Okay, next word. A very sad situation. Looks like a person has died. A police funeral. A police officer has died. The state of being dead, we say death. Death. There is a death in the family is a common expression. There was a death. Death is usually used as a noun. There was a death in the family. It means somebody in the family died. Grandfather, grandmother, father, mother, hopefully not child, right? But there was a death in the family. There was a death of a police officer, and this is the funeral. A funeral is to mark the death of a person, a funeral. Okay. Next one. To keep something working. So this person here is a mechanic. It's his job to make sure that this car keeps on working. His job is to maintain. Maintain, right? A-I, same sound. Maintain. Maintain the vehicle. Make sure that it keeps working. And not just that it keeps working, but it keeps working well. Okay? And that is the job of a mechanic. But not just mechanics, everybody should work to keep something working well. You should keep your body working well. Get enough sleep, right? Eat the proper foods. Maintain your health. Okay, so it's not just mechanics who maintain things. Everybody maintains things. We want to keep the things we use working well. We should maintain our bodies. We should maintain the things that we use to make sure they keep working. Don't neglect. Don't ignore the things that you have. Maintain them. Make sure they keep working well. Number 4. Oh, this is very sad. She feels pain. She is suffering. Okay? To suffer. To suffer. It's a verb, right? Usually we say, if we see her, we don't say she is suffer. We say she is suffering. I-N-G. She is suffering. He looks like he is suffering. Okay? But you can also, of course, just use suffer. She suffers from, right? She suffers from the flu. She suffers from a breakup. Her boyfriend broke up with her. So she suffers from that. Okay? But usually we say she is suffering. We don't say why. Okay? Okay. Number 5. To teach new information. To teach new information is to educate somebody. Right now you are being educated. I'm teaching you about English and we're going over vocabulary. So right now I am educating you. When you go to school, you are being educated by your teachers and your textbooks. When you go to the library and you read a book, you're being educated. It's very important to continue to be educated throughout our lives, even after you finish school. Read books that you're interested in and subjects that you're interested in. Watch documentaries on television or watch movies about history. And always don't give up being educated, right? Education is very important. 6, more than what is useful or needed. More than what is useful or needed is extra. If you have something that you don't need, right? You don't need it. It's more than what is useful. You don't need it for using it. It's not something that you need to use. It's just something extra, right? Something above and beyond what you need or what is useful. It's extra. Usually it's a bonus. We think of it in the terms of positive thinking, right? So a dessert after dinner is something extra for you to eat. You don't need it. Maybe it's not useful, but you like it, right? That's extra. Okay. Sometimes your mom will put something extra in your lunch when you go to school, or you'll get something extra from your friends if they give you something. You don't need it. Maybe it's not useful, but it's something that you like. It's extra. 7, a place to keep animals for people to see. So these people are visiting what? They're visiting the zoo. The giraffe lives in the zoo. Well, this giraffe lives in the zoo. Most giraffes live in the wild, right? But in many cities, there are zoos where people can go and they can see animals. These animals are not tame. They're not pets. They're kind of wild animals. Even though they don't live in nature, they live in a place that's built by human beings. They are in a zoo, but they are not tame. You have to be careful when approaching these animals because they're maybe not used to being around human beings. Okay, we say that, of course, that's a zoo. I forgot the word, zoo. When you say this word, pronunciation, z, zoo, zoo, not Jew, zoo, z. You get some vibration. So make your mouth wide like that and make your tongue vibrate, zoo. And you got it, zoo. Okay, next one. Whoa, this kid's really smart, right? Unique and different, right? Most children do not write these types of diagrams. You have to be very smart and very intelligent to be able to do this. We say, this person is special. Some kids, some young people are very smart. They're like geniuses, and they are able to do these types of things at an early age, maybe even better than people who are a lot older than them. Some of them are a lot smarter than their teachers in school. They are special kids, and they should have special education. Okay, next one. 9. Wow, very nice and peaceful, very beautiful scene. Having a lot of water in the air. Now, having a lot of water in the air, it's kind of hard to show a picture of that, but basically, if you're at the beach, you notice you're next to the ocean, it's very hot. When it's hot, a lot of the water comes into the air, right? And in Korean, you say sipki, right? Sipki. In English, we say it's humid. During the summertime in Korea, it's very humid, isn't it? And you sweat a lot. In the wintertime, it's dry. So the opposite of humid, the opposite, pandero, is dry. It's dry in the winter, but humid in the summer. Humid means it has a lot of water in the air. Next one. People who make sure we follow the laws. Who are people that make sure we follow the laws? We call these people police. This person is a policeman, but there are also police women. Okay, if you just want to talk about police, you can just say police. It doesn't mean man or woman, it's just the police. And usually we say the police force. It's a group of people, men and women, who make sure we follow the laws. They enforce the law. If he is breaking the law by speeding, going too fast, or if he doesn't stop at the stoplight or stop sign, then this person will write a ticket, making sure that he follows the law next time. 11. Oh, we have they're playing doctor, right? He's going to be the doctor for his younger brother, looks like. what a thing does or is used for. But what a thing does or is used for, we call that a role, right? So what is the role of the things that you use? For example, the mask. What's the role of the mask? The role of the mask, or the function of the mask, is to prevent disease from transferring from one person to another. So what the thing does or what it is used for, we can say what's its role. You could also say what is its function? What is its function? Or what is it used for? What is it used for? What's its role? Okay. Whoa, that was fast. These kids, have you ever done this? What are they doing? They have pillows and they're fighting with each other to try to beat somebody. You fight them. Of course, a pillow fight is very common among brothers and sisters and friends, right? Hey, you're fighting somebody, but you don't mean to hurt them. You're just having fun. You're trying to beat the other person, and you're fighting them. Of course, we also fight people in video games. Don't fight people physically. That's not good behavior. But you're trying to beat the other person. Now, fight is an irregular verb. It has different forms when we use it in past tense. So we say fight, fought, fought. Fight, fought, fought. Okay? That's the different verb forms depending on the verb tense that you're using, present or past tense, whether it's simple past or past perfect. Okay, next one. 13. Ooh, this house looks terrible. Right? It's leaning to one side. Situation or environment. The condition of this house is very bad. In fact, this house should be torn down. It's not safe. The condition is unsafe. What is the condition of this house? Dangerous, unsafe. It should be torn down and a new house should be built. A new house, the condition is very good and the condition is safe. Okay? So the situation environment is like the condition. Okay, next one. Made of hardened sand and stone. Made of hardened sand and stone. What is this? This is concrete. Okay? So you see this truck. Sometimes you see these trucks at Kongsujung sites, right? And that's construction site. And they use concrete to build buildings or other types of things. Roads, walls. Concrete is used for a lot of different things. And they use sand and stone, crushed up stone, water also, and they can make concrete, okay? Made of hardened sand and stone, concrete. This isn't hard, this is wet, but after it dries, it becomes hard, and it's a very strong building material. Okay, number 15. A huge field with grass and few trees. So a huge field, lots of grass, a few trees here and there. We call this place a plain, a plain. And if you talk about the plains, usually people say the plains. Like if they say the Great Plains is an area designated in the middle of America. It involves states like Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and higher up the Dakotas. These states, there are not a lot of trees. It's just very flat and lots of grass, and there's a lot of farmland there now. A long time ago, it was just grass, and buffalo would run up and down this area, and the Indians would hunt the buffalo. Those were the Great Plains. Okay, so plain, a very flat area, huge field you can see for miles and miles and miles. It takes days to go across the Great Plains. Okay, last word, a deep hole. If you have a deep hole like this looks like a mining operation, but a deep hole, we call it a pit. I used to work for a mining company in America. I was in the human resources department at a large mining company, and that's what we call it. We call it the pit. We say the north pit, the south pit, right? So a pit is a deep hole. But pit doesn't just mean mining. It can be a natural pit. For example, sometimes you hear on the news where the ground just opens up, and they call that a sinkhole, but it's also, you can also say it's a pit. It's just a deep hole in the ground. It's a pit. Okay, that's our words. Let's go over the words. How well do we remember these words? Let's do some exercises. Number 1, I enjoy movies. They are great. Beep. And then we have the words here. So we have A, waste, B, audience, C, entertainment, D, people. What did we say about this word? We said that something that you do for fun, right? Like a movie, it could be playing a video game, it could be playing soccer. There's many forms of it. What is it? Of course, we talked about entertainment. I enjoy movies. They are great entertainment. Not waste, that doesn't make sense. Not audience, that doesn't make sense. And not people. Movies are not people. That's weird. Movies are a form of entertainment. There are many types of entertainment. There are many forms of entertainment. Movies are one type of entertainment. Okay, skipping number 2, going to 3. You can see monkeys in cages at the what? Where can you go and see animals in cages? Hopefully not in cages. That's not very nice. That's not very good. Hopefully they're in open areas, but sometimes they're in large cages, okay? Where do you see them? In the plains, in the jungle, at the zoo, or at the environment, right? Notice we say at. That's important too, because we don't say at the plains, we say on the plains. We don't say at the jungle, we say in the jungle. Let me write this down for you. On the plains, in the jungle, at the zoo, and in the environment. So really, we see at here, at is here, so that kind of gives us the idea anyway, right? You can see monkeys in cages at the zoo. We say at the zoo. You can say in the zoo, but it's more common to say at the zoo. But we don't say at the plains, we say on the plains. We don't say at the jungle, we say in the jungle. And environment, it's usually common to say in the environment, in an environment. So just looking at the preposition, zoo is the only one that we have to choose, so zoo is the answer, but zoo is also the only one that makes sense. You don't see monkeys in cages on the plains or in the jungle. The jungle is a natural environment. You don't have cages in the jungle where monkeys live. That's crazy. And in the environment, that doesn't fit well with the sentence anyway. The best answer is zoo, even if we don't worry about the preposition. Okay, next one, number 5. I was beep at a good school. What is done to you at a school? Nothing bad. That sounds bad. What is done to you at a school? But in a positive sense, what happens to you at school, right? Are you educated? Are you entertained? Are you kept? Are you treated? Well, you could be all 4 of those things, but one of those is the best choice. I was educated at a good school. Hopefully, if it's a good school, you will get a good education. So you will be educated at a good school. I was educated at a good school. You could say I was entertained at a good school, but the purpose for going to school is not to be entertained. The purpose for going to school is to be educated. So that's not a very good fit. I was kept at a good school. This sounds like you were kept a prisoner at a good school. That sounds a little strange. It's possible grammatically, but it sounds strange. I was treated at a good school. And that sounds odd too, because that doesn't say anything. You were treated at a good school? Usually we have to say I was treated well or I was treated poorly, right? How were you treated? If you just say I was treated at a good school, that doesn't say anything. What does it say? And so it doesn't fit. The best answer is educated. I was educated at a good school. It means I got a good education. 7, my dog is beep. He has 2 different colored eyes. Well, that's strange. If your dog has one blue eye and one brown eye, that's kind of strange, right? So would you say your dog is poor, your dog is special, your dog is small, or your dog is old? Okay? Well, strange can be unusual, right? It can be different. It can be special, not ordinary, right? So the only one that fits is special. Poor doesn't fit. My dog is poor, doesn't have any money. Dogs don't care about that. My dog is small. Okay, your dog is small, but why would you say he has 2 different colored eyes? That's not an example of being small. My dog is old. Okay, well, he's old, but why would you say he has 2 different colored eyes? Having 2 different colored eyes is not an example of being old, but having 2 different colored eyes is an example of being special. So make sure that this adjective fits the explanation or the example, right? If this example does not fit the adjective, it's not a good match. It's not a good connection. So special is the best choice here because you're saying the first sentence and then you're giving an example of that. Okay, so always make sure you have that connection when you're filling in exercises like this. Okay, that wraps up the vocabulary section. Now let's take a short break and go into the reading part. Let's take a break. Okay, welcome back. Well, our title again is Living with Animals, and that's what the passage is about. It's about how people have lived with animals, and especially about how people live with animals today. But we also go back in history, right? Let's take a look here. People have kept animals for thousands of years. A long history. They have many different roles. Dogs and cats make great pets. Okay, so here we see that the first sentence is here, people have kept animals for thousands of years. They. Who are they? People or animals? Well, they have many different roles, and then dogs and cats, that tells us that we're talking about animals. Animals are they. Animals have many different roles. And remember, role is some kind of function or use. So people have lived with animals for thousands of years. One example is dogs and cats. Dogs and cats make great pets. What are some other roles that animals have played with humans over the years? Well, cows and horses do work for us. So that's continuing the idea of animals having different roles. Some animals are pets, dogs and cats. Some animals work for us, cows and horses. Chickens are used for food, right? Chickens are used for food. That's another type of role. Lions and monkeys aren't as useful. We use these kinds of animals for entertainment. So when we say lions and monkeys aren't as useful, we're talking about from our point of view, right? For humans, humans don't really have much use for a lion, right? We better just leave the lion in the wild, right, to do what it does naturally, because humans and lions don't really get along well in the same area, right? We should just leave them alone. However, some people will use lions for entertainment, right? Especially in circuses or television shows, movies, things like that. Okay? And the same thing with monkeys. Monkeys are used for entertainment. People will use them for shows and things. Maybe not the best thing for the monkey, but that's what humans will use animals for. So a lot of different examples. Dogs and cats are used as pets. Cows and horses do work. Chickens are used for food. Of course, cows are used for food too, so are pigs, but anyway, that's this reading. And then other types of animals are used for entertainment. So we've talked about 4 different roles that animals play for humans. Okay. Kings and queens often collected strange animals from faraway lands. Romans made animals fight each other. Imagine 5,000 bears and lions fighting to the death. Now this is talking about history, right? The historical roles that animals have played for humans. A long time ago when there were kings and queens, well, there's still kings and queens, but very few, but when it was common for kings and queens, they collected strange animals from faraway lands. They thought it was fun. They did it for entertainment. They would collect giraffes or bears or rhinoceroses and keep them because it was something entertaining. Remember, these people a long time ago, they didn't have television, they didn't have movies, they didn't have a lot of the electronic entertainment we have today, so they had different forms of entertainment. Romans, the ancient Romans, right? Almost 2,000 years ago, well, more than 2,000 years ago, depending on what time period you're talking about in the Roman Empire, made animals fight each other in their colosseums, right? Imagine 5,000 bears and lions fighting to the death. If I imagine that, I think, oh, that's horrible, that's terrible. What a waste, what cruelty, right? But the Romans did that. They had animals, thousands of animals, fight each other to the death for entertainment. We think about that today. We think, well, that's terrible, that's horrible. But that's what they did back then. This was fun for the audience, but the animals suffered greatly. These days, there are many laws that protect animals. but this doesn't mean that animals are always treated well, okay? So like I said a long time ago, 1,500 years ago to 2,500 years ago, and even beyond that, after that, people thought it was fun to see animals fight to the death. Thankfully, we have a different feeling in society today. A long time ago, society was much different. Of course, the animals suffered greatly. They would be injured, though many of them would die because they were fighting to the death. That's terrible. But back then, they thought that was entertainment. Thankfully, it's a good thing these days, in modern times. By the way, don't say in these days, modern times. There are many laws. Thank goodness. Great. It's good that there are laws that protect animals. Animals shouldn't suffer just for our entertainment. That's terrible. So thankfully, there are laws to prevent people from making animals suffer. Okay? However, this doesn't mean that animals are always treated well, because there are people who still break the laws. There are still bad people who think that animals hurting each other is entertainment. Sometimes you hear in the news about people going to jail because they have dogs fighting each other. It's against the law in America. And some famous people and some famous athletes have gone to jail or had to pay large fines because they were involved in dog fighting rings. And this is terrible. Most people say that's cruel. Why do you do that to these dogs, right? There are laws against that. But you know, not all people follow the laws all the time. So it doesn't mean that they're always treated well. Okay, anyway, many animals are born in zoos. There isn't always enough space or food for them. So the zoos sell the extra animals. Edith is a chimpanzee who is found in California. So I gave you the example of people having dogs fighting each other. Okay, that's my example. It's not part of the reading. The reading gives another example. It says that animals that are born in zoos, sometimes there isn't always enough space or food for them. So if the zoo has a population of chimpanzees, right? And the chimpanzees have babies. There's too many babies. The zoo can't take care of all these chimpanzees. So what happens? So the zoos sell the extra animals. The zoo will sell the extra animals to other people, but those other people might not take good care of the animals. For example, Edith, we see a very specific example. Edith is a chimpanzee who was found in California. So we start off generally and we go down to a very specific example. What about Edith? She was found in California. She was sold right after her 3rd birthday. For the next 37 years, she moved between different zoos. When police found her, she was living in a concrete pit on the side of the road. So this poor chimpanzee, this is a specific example of how animals are not always treated well. For example, in zoos, a zoo will sell her because they can't take care of her. They have too many chimpanzees. They sell her to another zoo. For the next 37 years, chimpanzees live for a long time, right? Almost as long as human beings do. She moved between different zoos. So she moved from zoo to zoo. This is putting a lot of stress on the chimpanzee. It's not good to keep changing her environment, and she doesn't know what's going on. And finally, when police found her, that means there's some problem, right? Somebody reported there's a chimpanzee running around. That's not good, so somebody will call the police. She was living in a concrete pit, right? Just a concrete pit on the side of the road, right? That's a terrible place for a chimpanzee to be living, right? By the side of the road where cars are going back and forth. She has no supervision. Nobody's giving her food. Nobody's caring for her. She doesn't know where she is. She's away from her other chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are social animals. They survive in groups. So to be alone is very terrible. So she was mistreated. So this is an example of how animals, even these days, are not always treated well, even though there are laws that are supposed to protect those animals. Animals make their homes in many different environments. Penguins often live in cold, icy areas. Tigers live in warm, humid jungles. Lions live in wide open plains. So we're changing subject here a little bit. Now we're talking about the different environments in which animals live. And we have different examples, right? Animals make their homes in many different environments. Different environments means different conditions, right? For example, penguins live in cold, icy areas like the South Pole. Not the North Pole. Penguins don't live up there. They live at the South Pole. And that's a type of environment, right? It's a different environment from a warm, humid jungle. That's a different environment. Tigers live in the warm, humid jungles. And the jungles are a different environment from wide open plains, right? Lions live in wide open plains. So different animals live in different environments. Penguins don't live in jungles, right? And tigers don't usually live in the wide open plains. Tigers are more comfortable in jungles where they can hunt. Lions prefer plains where they can see and run after their food. Okay. A zoo is in only one environment. It must build special environments for its animals. These environments are expensive to make and to maintain. So the reason they're talking about the different environments of animals is because they want to talk about zoos. A zoo has many different types of animals. Well, these different types of animals are used to living in different environments. But the zoo has only one environment, right? The zoo is in a city, right? And it's only one environment. A city doesn't have jungles and plains and Arctic or Antarctic conditions, right? It has one type of weather. So what does the zoo have to do? The zoo must build special environments. So a good zoo, right, will have a special area or large enclosure, large room that they'll keep it cold for the penguins, and it'll be very cold in that area. Or for the polar bears, they'll build a large pool for the polar bears to swim in, and that water is very cold. And then maybe just 100 meters down the road, they'll have a wide open plain area where lions are. And then just a little bit further down the road, they'll have a jungle-like environment. Very good zoos can build those things, like the San Diego Zoo in America. Very expensive zoo, but they build these different types of environments to make it as natural as possible. Smaller zoos without a lot of money, they can't do that, and the animals suffer because of it. But of course, these environments are expensive to make. San Diego Zoo is very expensive. They have to have a large budget to make these types of environments, and also to maintain, to keep those environments in good condition for the animals. Smaller zoos don't have the budget to make these nice areas or to maintain those areas. Larger zoos that have lots of money coming in from visitors or people who give money, they do have the budget to be able to provide these types of environments. They are not always perfect. Animals that are kept in poor conditions, like Edith, often go crazy, which is very unfortunate. It's that the animals are suffering. So what they're talking about, they refer back to zoos. Like I said, zoos are not always perfect, especially like smaller zoos that don't have a lot of money. They're not perfect, right? Animals that are kept in poor conditions, like Edith. Remember the example of the chimpanzee who was sold from zoo to zoo for 37 years, and finally she was just given up. You know, the last zoo that had her just let her go, right? And didn't care for her, right? Sometimes these animals go crazy. And think about all that stress in their lives and being taken away from their family and the other animals that they're used to being around. Of course, that will make somebody go crazy. They will lose their sense of reason and they will go crazy. And that's a common expression, by the way. Somebody goes crazy, they lose their sense of rationality. They're not logical anymore and they become very stressed out. They go crazy. Okay, here is a video of animals in the wild. This might be a type of zoo, or it might be a nature park in Africa. I'm not sure because I can't see the license plates. I'm not sure where this vehicle is. But these people are visiting, right? They're the tourists. They might be at the zoo. This could be an example of the San Diego Zoo, I'm not sure, but it could also be an example of a nature park in Africa where the elephants just kind of walk on by and the people actually kind of like go into the environment. The animals don't feel like they're at the zoo or part of a park. They feel like they're in nature. This would be a good example. If this is a zoo, this would be a very good example of a good zoo. But it's probably a nature park, probably in Africa somewhere where they keep the animals there. Okay, let's continue. We're talking about good zoos, right? Modern zoos try to educate as well as to entertain. Animals' homes are destroyed by humans every day. So a lot of modern zoos, the big zoos, the zoos that are very good, they try to educate people who come to see the animals. And that's important. A lot of people in the cities, you don't have a chance to go to Africa and see the animals. You don't have a chance to, or the desire maybe, to go to Antarctica to see penguins. But you can see these animals at zoos in your city. And it's a good way to be educated about these animals, how they look, how they behave. Okay? So that zoos, good zoos, modern zoos, try to educate people as well as to entertain. We like to watch these animals or to look at these animals because it is kind of entertaining. But we have to remember, animals' homes are destroyed by humans every day. There are more and more people in the world every day. We're building more and more homes and factories and towns and cities. We're taking away the land from many animals, and many animals are in danger of disappearing from the earth. If people understand how important animals are to the world, then we will try harder to protect them. Zoos aren't perfect, but maybe they can teach us how to live better together. So this passage is kind of like talking about good points and bad points about zoos. We saw that zoos sometimes, it's hard to provide good environments for the animals, right? Animals should be kept in natural conditions or their natural environments. And when zoos can't afford to keep a large group of animals, they'll sell them. And some zoos we'll just let the extra animals go free, like Edith the chimpanzee, and that's not taking very good care of them. That's the bad side of zoos. On the good side of zoos, zoos that try to educate people and try to provide better environments for them. But one of the good points about zoos, the plus side, is that zoos provide education for people. Zoos can be a place where people can become educated about the animals. When people go to zoos, they can understand how important animals are to the world. They can see the animals in hopefully a very good artificial environment, but still a good environment, and they can see how they behave and how they act, and they can read about the animals, and they can see them in real life, and that's kind of important to get a good understanding of these animals and how important they are. If we understand how important these animals are, hopefully we'll try harder to protect them. If we go to the zoo and we see the chimpanzees, we see the lions, we see the tigers, we see the penguins, we say, wow, they're very impressive, they're very beautiful animals. And we learn at the zoo that these animals are endangered, that there's some danger for them disappearing. We think we want to protect these. So now we're going to try harder to protect these animals. Zoos aren't perfect, right? No zoos are perfect. Nothing really is perfect. There's always good points and bad points about things. But maybe they can teach us how to live better together with animals. Okay, and that's really what we're talking about here, living with animals. Okay, let's go over the comprehension questions for this story. This story is about what? What is the overall topic? Excuse me. What is the overall topic of this story? A, this story is about useful animals. This story is about strange animals. This story is about how we keep animals. Or D, how Romans treated animals. What was the overall topic? Was it about useful animals? We talked about different types of useful animals, like cows and horses, they do our work, but we also mentioned lions and monkeys that are not useful. So it wasn't just about useful animals. Was it about strange animals? Well, we talked about dogs and cats as pets. Dogs and cats aren't strange animals, so that's not right. This story is about how we keep animals. Ah, okay. That's our answer. We're talking about how we keep animals, whether we keep animals at home, on a farm, or especially at a zoo. A lot more about a zoo, but it's how we keep animals. How Romans treated animals was just one example of our reading passage. It was just an example that was used. It was not the overall topic of the reading passage. Okay, number 2. Lions are used for beep because they are not beep. Okay, we have 2 blanks here. Both words have to fit. So, lions are used for work because they are not food. Okay, well, okay, food fits, right? Lions are not food. Nobody eats a lion. A lion steak, please. No, we don't say that. So that's possible, but work doesn't make sense. Lions are used for work. I don't know anybody who makes a lion pull something or you can ride on a lion. I wouldn't try that. That doesn't make sense. So work doesn't work. Work doesn't work in this sentence, so that's not right. Lions are used for entertainment because they are not useful. Okay, well, the reading passage did talk about that. Because we use lions and monkeys for entertainment, they aren't useful from a human perspective. For humans, they're not useful. So B is the answer. Lions are used for entertainment because they are not useful. They're not useful from our point of view. Okay? C. Let's just check C and D. Lions are used for pets. No, don't use lions for pets. That's very dangerous. Okay, because they are not entertainment. They are not entertainment. That's just incorrect grammar. So neither one works. Lions are used for kings and queens because they are not strange. That's very strange. Both of those are weird, right? We don't use lions for kings and queens, right? We say, oh, it's a lion, let's make him our king. We don't do that. And because they are not strange, that just doesn't make sense. So the right answer is B. Lions are used for entertainment because they are not useful from our perspective. 3. Zoos sell extra animals because why? They are food. B, the animals are useful. C, they are too old. D, they can't care for them. So what happened? What did we read about in the passage? And the example was Edith, right? They sell extra animals because they are food. That doesn't make sense. The example of chimpanzee, nobody would eat a chimpanzee. That's terrible. That's horrible. The animals are useful because the animals are useful. If they're useful, why are they selling them? That doesn't make sense. Because they are too old. No, the passage didn't say that. It's possible, but the passage didn't specifically say that. Because they can't care for them. Zoos sell extra animals because they, referring to zoos, because zoos can't care for them. Here this refers to animals. Animals. And that's what the passage said, right? Because the passage said sometimes the animals have too many babies. There are too many animals. And the zoos can't feed all those animals or have space to care for all of those animals. So zoos sell extra animals because they can't care for them. Okay, next question. Zoos can teach us what? How to keep animals. B, how to live better with animals. C, how to sell animals. D, how to build environments. Which one is correct? Well, first of all, how to keep animals. Zoos can teach us how to keep animals. Now, zoos don't really teach us how to keep animals. The purpose of zoos is not to teach us how we can keep a lion, right? It's not our job, or we should not try to keep a lion or a chimpanzee or a tiger or a penguin, right? It doesn't teach us how to keep animals. How to live better with animals. Zoos can teach us how to live better with animals. That sounds correct. That sounds like something from the passage. Zoos can teach us how to live better with animals because they can show us how impressive and how special and how unique these animals are, how beautiful they are. And so by doing that, we can think about how can we protect these animals. And so hopefully zoos can teach us how to live better with animals and to protect the animals and to make sure that they survive and they don't disappear. Okay, C. Zoos can teach us how to sell animals. That doesn't make sense. And how to build environments. No, we're not interested. We don't want to build environments for animals. That's not the point. The point is zoos can teach us how to live better with animals. So really this passage was talking about you know, how people live with animals, but it also had a lot to do with zoos. You know, some bad points about zoos, zoos that maybe can't take care of animals, right, that treat animals in a poor way, but also good points about zoos. Some zoos are good because they can teach us about how animals live. We can be impressed by those animals. We feel a certain connection to those animals. And so we think, how can we protect those animals? How can we live better with those animals in our world? Because we only have one world and we have to share it, right? It's not just for human beings, it's also for other animals too. And if they disappear, then we are poorer because of that. Okay, well, very important lesson, as you can think about that today. I hope you've learned a lot. I certainly have. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.